Hey y'all, it's Ken, and I am coming to you on location again for this week's refresh from Flyboy Donuts. And yep, there's donuts in there with bacon on them and the regular glazed. And I thought that the location might kind of help this morning, and I was kind of feeling hungry, and so I got myself a donut. It's really good. So I got a donut. And part of that comes from the illustration last week. Last week was May 31, and we talked about money, tithing. And I did a whole bunch of scripture passages from the Old Testament where it talked about different aspects of tithing and whether we do it, whether we don't do it. And the reality is the Old Testament really tells us that we should tithe like 4 different times of tithing. There's the tithing for the Levites and the priests. There's the tithing for the temple and the festivals. There's the tithing for the orphans and the widows. And then there's the tithing for the government and the king. And so sometimes that would mean you'd give up to 40% of everything that you had back to God, all acknowledging that all of it is His anyway. And in the midst of that, sorry, I gotta have another bite. This tension emerges of, do we really understand that? Do we really get it? And we kind of do, I think. I mean, we have this concept that we have this feeling, even innate or amongst us, that we need to give back. And so we do. But what happens, and I use the donuts as the illustration, is we begin to take away from that whole of who we are, of what we have as far as funds and money and stuff and all of that. And our house costs and our fun costs and entertainment and food and all of these things cost. And so in the end, we consume more than what God asks for us to give back. Now, for most of us, giving 40% of what we owe, of what we have, seems kind of crazy and ridiculous. But that's the way that people did it in the Old Testament. And now with next week, Money Part 2, we're going to look at the New Testament. And I'm not saying that you need to give 40% of what you have to God. But what I am saying is maybe we shouldn't be such big gluttons with what we do have and realize that it all comes from Him anyway. So I'll see you next week, June 7. We're going to talk about money in the New Testament. What did Jesus say? See you then.